Hello. How are we doing, everybody? We come back to episode 4. Last time, Awakening, episode 3, I had a conversation with David. David became a friend since 2017 when one of my students, Matt, introduced him to me. And that day I remembered I had a group of friends, Matt, Mike, Andy, a couple of others came with me. And David was very interested in consciousness, especially in consciousness because he has studied martial arts for many, many years, Shotokan and different things. And his study at Harvard and his interest in entrepreneurship, his interest in robotics and AI. So that brought us together to see the future possibilities. So that's why we got into the conversation. And then I talked probably about 3 hours. And then I don't know why I didn't stop talking, but he listened and then I talked. So from that on, he began to got into the consciousness. So today he started a group in Harvard areas, and the Harvard group basically is his alumni of the Harvard group and with business because he went to business school there at Harvard. And he started also a group in Princeton, and Princeton University also studied a young entrepreneurship. Of course, he has a group of people in New York and also young entrepreneurship. Basically, it's a conscious and a future entrepreneurship. And I'm glad. And he's doing it. So we talk a lot, and he agreed with me in many, many ways. Of course, not everything we see is the same, but we are vibrating together, learn from each other. I learn from his mechanical entrepreneurship and engineering point of view, AI point of view. And for me, and he see me probably see the flow state. And not much into three-dimensional world, the fabrication of the illusion of that separation, that competition, that who is the biggest, who can make most, rather is the interconnected world of being, the fabric of the humanity, the fabric of the cosmos. That is what I call compassion. So we talk a little bit. If you want to go back to my 3rd episode, you will see, and there are a lot of communication, and then there are some probably differences, but most time we begin to be coherent with each other. You see, for my 50 years in observation, more than 50 years in observation, my 20 years really get into the human beings' possibilities of a new education, new entrepreneurship, new business, new cooperation, a new eco-living, which is what we talk about, the new OS, what is the difference from new OS? New OS original is already there. Everybody has that possibility of new OS, which is in the most consciousness of wisdom intelligence, which is the compassion, which is benevolence, which is in the connected world of humanity, in the connected world of all that is. Because start from Big Bang, beyond the Big Bang, before Big Bang or after Big Bang is already there, always there. It's life. The quantum field is always there. The cosmic life is always there. Doesn't matter inner and outer, in that the material world, the outer, the inner dance together. It's not one side, it's a story. We are so dwelled on this material separation, Newton's definition of time, the touchable, the visible world of being. Then we see people begin to flow into another way. Another way is to see the world by accident or by calculation or by humans' original embedded insight that endowed intelligence, that endowed consciousness, that energy frequency. Let's say Friday, Maxwell, in electrodynamics, in electromagnetic field. Then you have Max Planck, the Planck scale, and you see that quanta. And then we get quantum, all that came from Max Planck. And from that on, and you get quantum mechanics. That idea of quantum mechanics, the wave function, the particle function, the particle wave, so-called duality, but it is the same. It's non-duality. So what I see is that, can we dive deeper? And then we come with Albert Einstein. Who is Albert Einstein? Probably most people know more than I do. So you're from this E equals hv or hf of Max Planck's equation, as almost as famous as E equals mc squared. And Albert Einstein got a Nobel Prize because he proved, his theory later proved to be true, both particles and waves. And that gave direct evidence the world of particles, the world of determined, the world of separated is collapsing. Of course, out of respect of Newton, Albert Einstein always feel this world Newton described got to be some connection. So he did not understand, he tried not to get into the flow state, try to stick with the determinism of physical cosmology. Even though he got this theory of special relativity and general relativity that already has broken the line or the anchor of Newton. But we're still in the space-time. We're still in the interface of the cosmos. Nothing goes beyond speed of light. Is that right? Of course, from that point, and you come with Niels Bohr to see from the point of yin and yang, the complementary theory of I Ching and the ancient Chinese yin-yang theory. He comes up with this complementary theory. But one of the most important points is that without observation, you cannot find which is which. Yin and yang, or up and down, which is Spain. Of course, it is Heisenberg gave that uncertainty principle the possibility, and we begin to see the consciousness. With the Schrödinger's equation, even Schrödinger didn't believe that cat can be dead and alive at the same time in his box, but it's just a fact. And then so many experiments begin to prove that the debate between Albert Einstein and Niels Bohr come to fruition, from John Bell to Allen to more people, and we see that it changes. So from the classical physics to quantum world, today basically the quantum world, but most people still live in the classical world of determinism. Don't you see? That's what I call that old programmed, conditioned operation system. Now comes with the new OS. That is the new quantum consciousness of the new OS. To see that interconnected world of being, like Gautama, everybody call him Buddha. What he sees? He sees the world of interface is an illusion. He sees that everything is like a grand ocean. Everything is connected. The very fabric of everything is that compassion. The surface of that interface, of that illusion, which is what you see in the physical world. Everything is separated. Everything is differentiated from another. Everything comes with the thoughts, with ideas. Everything comes with a conditioned mind, the old ideas, old DNAs of the family, old conformity, old emotions, the perpetual conflicts of that physical world, of that illusion. When you see, really see, that is the illusion. When you really see, that is the interface. When you really see and observe, that's total fallacy, as you really believed that was real, objective. Everything's objective. There was a conclusion of the real world of being. You lost the whole intrinsic inner space of consciousness, that energy wave of the cosmos, the potentiality of the cosmos. So he sees clearly from one of the sutras called 金刚经. What is 金刚经? 金刚经 is the Diamond Sutra. Used Diamond Sutra because diamond is hard. That's our imagination. To cut the illusions. The diamond is our mind. It's the container. It's the crystal stone. It doesn't matter what name you put it. To cut the illusion. He sees the billions and billions of the world. It's totally connected. It's one, without the other. The sands of the beach, he specifically said that. It's nothing part of the cosmos. The universe is just like a sand of the beach. The billions of stars, billions of galaxies, billions of planets over there, just like the sands on the beach. You know, imagine those days. Go back to his time, 2,000, few hundred years ago, before Jesus Christ. 100 years before Jesus Christ. A person went through all kinds of worship with the different temples, different teachers, different masters, and begin to see that's all illusion. Everybody has a set of opinions. Everybody has a set of ideas. Everybody has a set of way of worship. Cut it out, that illusion, to be free. But that freedom comes with the total responsibility. He has experienced sufferings, and he went to an extreme of self-cultivation, so-called meditation, without eating. And he almost starved to death. He was so skinny. And eventually he found the flow state without agonizing, without all that suffering, without all that, self-deprivation. He come to that flow state, that emptiness. Let it flow. Let the emptiness unveil itself. Because the emptiness has infinite potentiality. And then that emptiness is within us, in the inner mind of ourselves, in the inner consciousness of ourselves. To see that, you need a deep dive to empty your mind. To have that deep breath, to have that silence, to have that great pause, to have that deep insight of life, deep insight of the consciousness, to open up the inner light of oneself. So that's what I did It may not be similar, may not be the same, but I have devoted my meditation, not the external Kung Fu, not only the external Taiji, not external Qigong, or not external Zen Taigong, but the most important is my 999 med breath, the deep silent meditation, the deep meditation without any awareness of any breath, any senses, any thoughts from outside the world. But that doesn't need any control. That doesn't need any manipulation. That doesn't need any self-manipulated stop. But it's a flow. It comes natural. That's what I talk about. The new OS is naturally flowing. And the same thing as we see from Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu has devised this idea, but he said clearly, what is Tao? Tao is divine. Just like Christianity said, the supreme consciousness, the supreme God. Of course, a lot of God with the idea of a white guy sitting in the dome. I never got into that. Yes, I studied the Bible. I studied the Old Testament and New Testament. I even had an old Bible, was printed 1919, given by my maternal grandfather. I studied in and inside out. I went to University of Mobile. You can see I really have to study and to pass my grades. But that's not it. But what I see, most of the Bible people got into the physical world of being, but that they've lost the insight of Lao Tzu, insight of Tao, insight of Buddha's idea of the compassion. That's why Jesus brought compassion to Israel. Jesus brought compassion to the Middle East. He doesn't see the Gentiles. He sees everybody's equal. Everybody is the son of God. Of course, later the Rome, denied the idea, and Jesus is the only son of the God. That's a totally different story. But let's leave that story alone. Get back to Lao Tzu, the supreme, the divine Tao. What is the divine Tao? It's a primordial, the apical of the universe. The life cycle continues without a stop. The life cycle is in its own changing. It's always changing. That's why he said, Lao Tzu said, 道可道，非常道；名可名，非常名。That's the later translation. 道可道，非恒道；名可名，非恒名。What does that mean? The Tao cannot be named. If the Tao is narrated, interpreted, named, it's not origin. It's not the eternal one. The eternal one is that essence of it. That never ending, no beginning, no ending. It's not the flash of moment. You see, you grasp it. So that's the reality. But that's the flash moment. It's changing. But that's most people do. Just a flash moment. They think that's the truth. They give conclusion immediately. But that's Tao said clearly. When you give an interpretation, when you give your narratives, when you give your words, it's from you, from that locality, from that space-time from that flash of moment. So he wrote a whole book, 道德经. Dao is the principle of the universe, the divine of the universe. But that is in a constant changing, never ending. De, what is de? De means the compassion, the very fabric of life, the very fabric of the conscious cosmos, the very fabric of the life of the earth, of humanity. It's the same. There's no duality. So it comes to my name. My name is what? It's DeRu. De means compassion. De means the way of nature, the way of Tao. That's De. De is the flow state. De is the fabric of the universe. De is the interconnected resonance. De is the coherence. What is Ru? Ru means comes, gone, comes, gone, popped in and popped out of the quantum field, like electron. So that's exactly the quantum world of being. So my name is connected from the Tao, from the Buddha, from the old ancient wisdom to Ru, to the quantum field. What a coincidence. No, it's not a coincidence. My Shifu gave me the name. It's on the purpose. If I can connect the both world, the quantum world and the Eastern wisdom, and to support the future AI. Of course, he didn't know that. And that's what I said from my narrative, because the time is coming. That's why a lot of AI companies or future AI companies begin to want to understand the human and then the machine. Can they converge together? Yes, they can converge together, but they're different. What is the difference? The human beings, just like Lao Tzu said, has that infinite possibilities and has that innermost wisdom. The universe emerged from formulas to forms, from forms to formulas. Human beings are sort of like in the interplay of that connection. To see, to have deep insight of the understanding, human beings has that consciousness, the primordial Tao consciousness, translate into reality, from formulas to forms, from 0 dimensions to many dimensions. And the human beings has the very vital consciousness of the cosmos. That consciousness can be instantly tap into the cosmic consciousness, can be instantly have that lingan. What is the lingan? Ling means spirit. Ling means metaphysics. Ling means the cosmic consciousness. When that connection, when that resonance, when that coherence, when that alignment together, and human beings immediately download, have that sudden awakening, a sudden downloading, sudden flow state, sudden realization of the cosmic flow. There's no separation, no division. And then in that case, why we had all these conflicts, all these divisions, all this fragmentation, all this separation, all this differentiation, all these stagnant beliefs, thinking, thoughts. Stuck into that realm. Can we get out of that into the quantum world? Now it comes with a beautiful technology. We call what? AI and AGR arrival. Yes, we see in the past, most people, I chat with some of the ChatGPT people, some of the AI people, they believe that consciousness comes from neural transmission, comes from the very basic of nervous system, from the brain, from the neural synapses, the particles, the neurotransmitters. But can we find any evidence? No, we haven't. Then we can begin to see many people like me begin to dive into the inner world of exploration. I call inner science instead of outer science, instead of material science, but life science of the inner being. Can we see, connect with what Gautama have seen? What I would say, Gautama, the people along with Gautama, that group of people, all the way to Zen. And to a lot of Indian philosophies. A lot of philosophers begin to see the similar idea. Even the old Indian religions begin to grab that idea from Buddha, Gautama. Then you see a lot of quantum physicists begin to grasp the idea of Taiji, begin to grasp the Taiji, some idea from I Ching, begin to grasp some idea from Lao Tzu. It's natural. We are human beings. We're all together, interconnected. So the knowledge is outside, but the innerly, we have the knowledge, what I call self-learning, self-knowledge, self-observation, to open up, to unveil, to discover the inner light of self-natured wisdom, intelligence. And you see, I cannot say we were silly to see that a physical only world, that a differentiation. What I see is we are so trapped by it. The hierarchy, the label, the identity, the so-called success, the ambition, the desires, the greed, the jealousy, the hatreds, all derived from that physical world differentiation. Don't you see? And in a quantum connected world, we're in a quantum field, pops in and out. We are in the fabric of compassion. We are in the flow of consciousness, that vibration of energy frequency. And we see that space, what I call quantum space or atom space. If you atom, inside the atom, you have trillions of space. So that space is a spiral space. That space is a vortex. The space makes everything possible in motion. From the stars, from galaxy, from solar system, from black hole, everything is in motion. But the motion, don't we see? We always focus on the particles. We focus on the appearance, the relationship between the particles, the relationship between the stars. But we forgot the space, the relation of the space. From the outer space to inner space. That's what I see. The vital potentiality of that space, we forgot. Can we see? Can we dive into that? So with AGI's arrival, AI is going to be the quantum library. AGI is going to be the super quantum library. Everything we had in the past recorded. Our thoughts, our creation in technology, in knowledge, the books, the digital, whatever you have in the past, thoughts, the ideas of the past, all recorded. But human beings need to rise above. With a quantum leap, what I called leaps in quantum consciousness or leaps of quantum consciousness, whichever you want to twist a bit here, there. That quantum leap is absolutely necessary. The whole world is in quantum leap. It's not steady, one by one. The connected. That connected is about the vibration. The connected is the vortex. The connected is the inner space. So from the ancient wisdom of Lao Tzu, from Zen is the combination of Lao Tzu and Buddhism ideas combined together to see the infinite freedom, the meditation. The meditation leads you into infinite freedom. The meditation into the inner observation. The meditation into the deep inner world exploration. That freedom comes with total responsibility. That means in that world, we no longer depend on authorities, either political authorities or economic authorities or business authorities or trade authorities or religious authorities or whatever authorities you talk about, medical authorities. No, because we have that innate intelligence. Everybody vibrate together, we can create a new world of being. We are not just passive rider. We are not just a passive observer. The observer and the observed is one. Just like John Will described, we are participator of the cosmos. That interplay. So in that case, as Buddha begin to realize, as Lao Tzu begin to realize, as we all begin to realize, we are the cosmos. Each of us is the cosmos. Each of us is the humanity. That's why I always call myself, I'm the cosmos, I'm the humanity. Yes, we are. But if you realize it, you say it. You see that the inner most consciousness of the intelligence is totally the holographic whole, the holographic integrated whole. And then you see, I'm the cosmos, I'm the earth, I'm the galaxy. That's true, possibly. And because from the quantum field, from the conscious cosmos, from the conscious matrix of the cosmos, from the Tao, from what we observed in the inner world of consciousness, as Max Planck also has seen that. That's why he says consciousness is fundamental. Physical is the derivative. Schrödinger also sees that as one mind, one consciousness. As David, our friend David Bohm, also saw that. He sees the world is the whole, non-locality. The interconnected whole, that holographic whole, with the implicate order, which is non-visible, but connected. Just like quantum entanglement. And then you have outer space, appearance. That is what I call interface of the world. He call explicit order. So from that, we see we are all connected. Doesn't matter what the language. Just like last time I talked about 2018, I got everybody together of that scientists, consciousness, energy frequency, energy healing, all kinds of explorers, investigators. And we had a conference, and like Stuart Hameroff argued with me about nothingness. Because most physicists feel there's a particle or there's nothing. But nobody see the nothingness has the most potentiality. The nothingness is full of energy, full of wisdom. But the people don't see that. So when I explain to that, the nothingness is the very foundation of all that is, before the Big Bang, before the existence of this stage or this cycle, this loop of visible cosmology. But the innermost consciousness, that fundamental, is the nothingness. The fundamental is the emptiness, totally connected. That consciousness is that the essence of all, is the fundamental of all. The consciousness drives the inner space of all that is, that vortex, that movement, that revolution, to manifest all we see, all we experience. Life has no beginning, no ending. It's always moving. But that shell, that physical being, in and out, out of the quantum field. That's all it is. So when we see, observe from the essence of life, from the essence of the inner being, from the essence of innermost consciousness, to see the dance of the consciousness, of the vibration of the energy frequency, of the inner world and the outer world, the yin-yang dance, and we see a totally different world. Nothing is solid. Everything in and out. Everything is changing, just like Lao Tzu said, like Yi Jing. What is Yi Jing? Yi Jing is changing. Changing is permanent. Nothing is not changing. Forms to formless, formless to forms. Transformation, always in the interplay. So in that case, each character, like us, like you and me, we can change, we can transform. So leave the old OS, the habitual movements, the habitual conditioned mind, the habitual thoughts, the habitual emotions, the habitual stubbornness, the habitual family clans inheritance of the DNA, of the information expressed newly, the new information, new antenna to perceive, to conceive, to receive new. And then we see from epigenetics, it's already given plenty of evidence. But what I see is over here is the innermost consciousness, the inner world of science to explore. Not just a one-sided story, just like we use our brain. We don't just use the left brain, the linear thinking, the reductionism only. All the rationalities, all the rationale based on one-sided story of the left brain. Let's see, open our right brain. Just that alone will change a lot of things. Let's open all our 50 to 100 trillion cells. That holographic cells give a totally different signal, totally different expression. We see the world totally different. That's transformation. That's flow state. That's shift of the paradigm. That's shift from the old OS to new. What I call Kung Fu. What is Kung Fu? Kung Fu is dedicated work, dedicated flow, dedicated passion, dedicated dive into a new world in flow with action, without effort, without strive, without suffering, without struggles, but in flow, in the zone. We can talk forever, but let's stop right here and we go on next episode. Much to talk about AGI, about human being, about our inner space, about our consciousness, about the way we can use our general Kung Fu in flow to change our conditioned mind, to renew our mind, to renew the software, to renew the hardware.